すり傷だ。ランドゥの名のもとに氷雪をもって気づきし志し朽ちることなし。
もっと己を解き放つ準備はいい。反抗、陽動、霊落。盛り上がってるじゃん。乗ってる？
覚悟しろ。せっちゃっ。
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Here we are with Gepard, i.e. the shield bot, i.e. your Ice Zhongli, and let's get straight to it. So, who is Gepard? What does he do? What's his role in the world of Honkai Star Rail? Well, first and foremost, he is the brother of Serval, as we'll get to in subsequent videos for her. Look forward to that. But he is the captain of the Silvermane Guards who belong to the noble Landau family in Belobog. And so he's responsible for most of the city's defenses, and he wants to be the guy who maintains peace in all of the city. So he is, of course, a ice damage dealer, and he is part of the Preservation Path. And Preservation Path characters basically are all about defense. They're all about defense, defense, defense. They want to be the ones who are on the field providing shields or just providing ways to protect the team at all costs. And that is what Gepard's role is. This guy is pretty badass. I love his character design. He's really cool. But let's get into the meat and bones of what he's all about. Is he worth building? Is he a capable character? Well, let's find out. Overall, at the moment, I'm currently running him at 60 out of 60. Here are his stats for you to look at. Again, this is all subject to change, as it states at the bottom right here. This is the beta version, of course, as you already know. So whatever you see here can likely change, so keep that in mind. But for the sake of the video, let's keep going. So right now we have the Fist of Conviction, his basic attack, which states that it deals 80% of Gepard's attack as ice damage to a target enemy. And the bonus stat here states that his basic attack has a 75% base chance to taunt the target for 1 turn. So taunting essentially just means that you're giving the enemy a chance to attack you directly. So instead of going for, let's say, the weaker ally on your team to do damage, all of that damage is then funneled into Gepard. Skill: Intimidating Strike. This is the Impair. So what does this do? Deals 150% of Gepard's attack as ice damage to a target enemy. At the same time, there is a 65% base chance to freeze that enemy for 1 turn. While frozen, the enemy cannot move and will take 37% of Gepard's attack as ice damage over time each turn. So this is really good. Again, focusing on giving him some attack is also really great because you're doing so much as far as its scaling is concerned. So investing in some ice damage and attack is really good. Then this is where he becomes the ice damage or the ice version Zhongli of the game. So this is called Enduring Bulwark and applies a shield to all allies, absorbing damage equal to 40% of Gepard's damage plus 170 for 3 turns. Of course, these numbers will likely change as you level up your character. This number will likely increase as you of course, improve your traces and so on and so forth. So again, this is really where his kit shines, because the more defense you do invest in him, the stronger your shield, and therefore you'll have an easier time in battle. Talent-wise, Unyielding Will. This is his passive. When struck with a killing blow, instead of becoming incapacitated, Gepard's HP immediately restores back to 37% of his max HP. This effect can only trigger 1 time per battle. So this kind of sounds like, you have like a Hu Tao, but in this case he restores his HP, which is pretty good for him. And then you have the additional bonus stat here. When Unyielding Will is triggered, Gepard's energy will be restored to 100%. So that is pretty cool. That is actually pretty good. Having that 100% ER restoration is really nice for him. That just means that you can obviously proc your ultimate, get a shield up for the team, and just constantly rebuff and, you know, never die, essentially. And then your technique, Camaraderie. This is for the next battle. After using the technique, defense of all allies is increased by 25% of Gepard's defense for 2 turns. So this can be really good in certain matchups or certain stages in the game where you want to be ensuring that your team survives, and having that defense means that you're not going to die. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward kit, nothing too overly complicated. He's a pretty straightforward guy, badass character. I like him a lot. And here we go into the traces. So as I've said it before in most videos, this is just where you would upgrade your traces, i.e. your talent abilities. And so currently I'm at level 6, 4 and 6 for talent, basic attack, ultimate, and your skill respectively. And then you have your technique at the bottom. These are all like bonus abilities or stat bonuses as they call them. So you get some increased ice damage here. You got a bonus ability here, more ice damage. And this is another ability here. Gepard has a higher chance to be attacked by enemies, which goes back to the taunt ability as I mentioned earlier. You have effect resistance, which is great. And then ice damage increased by 3.2, defense increased by 5%. So he's got some defense capabilities too, as this goes right back to his shield power and shield strength. The more defense you have, of course, the better for your shield. And then this is another bonus ability called Fighting Spirit. Gepard's attack is increased by 35% of his current defense. This effect will refresh at the start of each turn. So this also can be applied to leveling up via his relics. Knowing that his attack is increased by 35% of his defense, therefore that can tell you, okay, I should invest in some defense percent to get, a little bit more out of his kit. So that gives you a little bit of a gist of what his traces are, what his overall kit stands for, and what his responsibility is on the field. And then we have the light cone. So the light cone I don't have, of course. I have March 7th currently being used on his light cone. But what's great about light cones of the similar class or of the preservation path is that you can use them amongst the same class or the same path. So this is at Superimposition level 1, which states that it increases the wearer's defense by 24% and increases damage resistance of all allies by 8%, and effects of the same type cannot stack. So again, pretty simple to understand. This just gives you more defense, which is obviously what we were looking for. You want to have more shield strength, just like March 7th, kind of similar in the way in which they perform. The only major difference is that Gepard, his shield casting ability is all at the same time, meaning he casts a shield for the entire team on the spot, whereas with March 7th, you have to essentially target an ally specifically to apply a shield. So that's really like the main difference between them. But nevertheless, they're still both defenders, and so it's good to know moving forward. Then we have the Eidolons. So Eidolon E1 is basic attack, has a 75% base chance to taunt a target for 1 turn. This one I've already unlocked. E2, after an enemy frozen by Gepard's skills unfrozen, their speed is reduced by 25% for 1 turn. This is pretty decent. As I mentioned many times in other videos, speed is of great importance in the world of Honkai Star Rail because this really increases the likelihood of you moving faster than the enemy, and thus the faster you move means the more turns you have, and the more turns you have means you can win with more efficiency. So E2 is not bad. Not a bad Eidolon. This is your E3. This is just a boost to your ultimate. Then you have your E4, which is Faith Moves Mountains. When Gepard is in battle, all allies' effect resistance is increased by 20%, which is not bad. Then E5, then E6, Unyielding Determination. When his talent is triggered, Gepard's action is advanced forward by 100%, and his HP restoration is additionally increased by 50% of his max HP. So essentially he's a character that can shield his entire team, he can do some decent damage with his ice attacks, and he can heal himself if he's in danger. So he's kind of like the jack of all trades. He can heal himself, he can secure, protection for his team, he can do damage on his own. He's got it all. But is he really good in like one specific area? I'd say like he leans more towards like having that shield more than his attack. There are other characters like Seal, for example, who are monstrous in terms of their attack damage. Blade, for example, is really, really good. Even the likes of Jinghuan, and even 4-star characters like Dan Heng, Hook. These characters are more about their attack power, Gepard is more about just supporting the squad, making sure no one dies, and then of course he himself does not die because he can just heal himself when he gets incapacitated, and then he can do some ice damage on the fly if he needs to. So that covers, the whole gist of what his kit provides. And now we can go to, or actually let me go back and actually kind of go over my opinion about each Eidolon. So E1 is okay. It's not amazing by any means. I don't think that any of his Eidolons are actually, let's say, game-changing or a must-have to roll upon. I think as a standard character, he's on the standard banner in the game, and as such, I think that his Eidolons are not really something to get excited about. Maybe the E2 is great because, of course, reducing the speed of the enemy is always a nice little fit, but to say that it's going to be, let's say, an alleviation to things is not really. So yeah, E2, it's okay. E4, reducing FX resistance is not bad. It's not terrible, but is it worth the E4? Again, that's all up for debate. Come full version, in my opinion, not that much. And then E6, you get an additional boost to your HP restoration, but other than that, again, not really worth to jump for joy over. E1, E2, they're decent. If you get them, great. If not, I think E0 is pretty much a good stopping point for this character and what his responsibility is. Now, relics. So this area can really depend on what you should look for. You can build him as a complete pure shield bot with all defense, and therefore you're not going to die. You can also apply a little bit of a mixture between attack and defense, which is what I've done. And I've also applied some ice damage as well, just so that his attack can do some more damage over time. So I've gone with the 4-piece Guard of Withering Snow, which is the ice set in the game. And then I've gone for the Musketeer of Wild Wheat, which is your attack set in the game. And so I've gone for a little bit of a buff to attack by 15%, and then the 4-piece of the ice states that it increases the wearer's attack by 15%, and damage dealt to frozen enemies is increased by 20%. So this is kind of good for him because when he does freeze enemies, you want to be taking advantage of that, and so giving him the opportunity to do more damage while enemies are frozen is always a great merit. So I've gone for the 4-piece and the 2-piece. This, of course, this can be different for every player and what their wants and needs are depending on their team composition. So come full version, all this can change, of course. So keep that in mind. But as I mentioned earlier, he does seem to have a pretty versatile kit, so you can build in the way you want. In my case, I've gone for the flat HP, flat attack, flat defense as usual. This is your standard right here. I focused on defense, flat defense, defense percent, some crit rate in there, effect resistance, of course. These are some good substats to have. Speed is also good too, but I focus primarily on defense percent and effect resistance, and of course some attack, because of course I want his shield to be tanky, but I also want his attack to be somewhat decent. Then you've got, again, attack percent here, crit damage, defense, of course, attack percent. And then I've gone for the attack percent on the feet. And initially I had defense because I wanted to make him a complete shield bot, but I figured, you know what, let's give him some more attack because his skill does do damage and it scales pretty well. So I've given him the attack feat with some defense percent, which is also really good. And then we've gone for an ice damage boost, which of course boosts his ice damage even further. And we focus on defense. Speed is okay too, of course, as a substat. It's always nice to have speed. And then for the article, I've gone for crit damage just to ensure that he's doing damage when enemies are frozen. And then, of course, as I mentioned, defense is a substat there too. So you could also go for ER if you wanted, energy restoration rate, if you can find that particular piece. I don't know if I have any right now to show you, but if you do have them when you do get the game, then of course you can use that if you feel you're low on energy. But I think attack percent is pretty good for him, as it means that you're doing more damage, and the more damage, of course, the easier it can be in certain matchups with certain enemies. So hopefully that has given you somewhat of an overview as to how you can build Gepard as a character. As I said, he seems pretty flexible in terms of how you want to build him. You can go again to the full throttle shield bot mode, or you can go for a more of a hybrid where he's doing some damage but also shielding his team. just like Zhongli, you know, you can build Zhongli purely shield bot by going all, you know, HP. And in this case, you can do the same thing with Gepard, defense. But in my case, again, I've gone for a more hybrid build. And come full version, we'll see how things change in terms of the actual sets and how their damage has been reduced or increased. We'll see how Hoyoverse works in that case. But all that being said, hopefully this has given you, again, a good gist of how Gepard is as a character. And I do hope the gameplay footage in the video is giving you a good idea of how to play him on certain teams. And speaking of which, to close things off, team-wise, just put Gepard on a team where you need a healer, or sorry, a shielder. And so that can be just about any team. In my case, I've gone for the tried and true Blade Luocha combo. As you already know in my previous videos, I love these guys so much. They're a great combination. So I've gone for the whale build via the closed beta, which is 5-star, 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 5-star. You've got Blade, Luocha, Jinghuan, and Gepard. It's a bit overkill because obviously I have Luocha to obviously heal the team, but it's nice to have Gepard there to heal just in case. And then you could always swap out Jinghuan. You could always put in someone like Asta. Asta's great here because you can build speed, allowing for Blade to do more damage a lot faster. And then, of course, you can just shield her to protect her if need be. There's a lot of different variants you can make with team comps with regards to Gepard. Again, he is very flexible as a character. So long as you need a shielder on your team, he is the go-to guy. So hopefully that's given you a good sneak peek as to what Gepard can do. If you enjoyed the content and you've made it this far in the video, please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. And of course, if you want to go a step further and become a patron for the community and support the channel even further, become a patron and sign up for Patreon down below in the link on the pinned comment. That being said, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you folks on the next video. Take care and peace out.